Hello, and welcome to another episode of 207 Aikido. So in the last episode, I introduced an idea about Shomenate, and there was some discussion in the comments, and I just want to talk a little bit about one of the ideas that I mentioned, which is the footwork for Shomenate, but also for a whole lot of other techniques. For me, one of the most important things for Shomenate, however you do it, is the degree to which the front foot enters. So meaning, in your standard Shomenate and the one that you see on posters, Hori's foot is always way in here, and that's really important because it's going to prevent me from breaking my own balance forwards. So if I'm going to throw Eric here, I want to take that big step in. So. Back when we started Aikido, this phrase was introduced to us: there's no pulling in Aikido. And this is linked actually to this footwork. A push has an origin, but it doesn't really have a defined target. Whereas a pull has less of a defined origin, but it has a target. So when we began Aikido, this idea was introduced to us: there's no pulling in Aikido. And the reason that is because if I pull, there's a defined target and it's me, right? So if I grab Eric's arm and I pull, he's gonna clobber me. So there's no pulling with the arms. But what's interesting is, a few years ago when Dave Nettles introduced me to the idea of pulling with the feet. Because when I pull with my feet, there's a defined target, but it's the floor. And so when I get into this position and I get my foot in deep here, when I pull with my foot, I'm pushing with my arm, so I'm keeping Eric away from me with this unbendable arm, but I'm pulling with my foot, and it's defining the target is that point right where my foot is if I'm pulling to that foot. And so when I take that big step in and I pull to that foot, I'm defining that as the target. The flip side of this is the mistake that many people make, which is not to take that step, but to be thinking about the chin and to get into this position, right? And that's the position. I mentioned the wakigatame counter, but Bubba's right. If I drop the elbow too much here, it could very easily be a hikitaushi or a kotegaishi counter. If I get here and I'm leaning forward, right, or a ushirohate, right? If I drop that elbow. But if I get my foot in deep here, it's going to be much more difficult for Eric to counter because I'm setting that target as the. So however you do Shomenate, just remember to get that foot in deep, and I think it'll really improve your Shomenate. So I just want to add one more thing, which was that Bubba's point in the comments, I think, is a very valuable one, in that, going to the chin. Like I said, I don't think you have to go to the chin in Shomenate. You can certainly make the throw work without going to the chin, but it's really valuable kazushi, really valuable leverage if you can get all the way up to here. So go ahead and use that chin. I like to tell people, thinking about grabbing uke's chin with your hands, that'll set you up in a good hand position, right? And then if you picture, is it the Tamiki Ronin patch? With the skull being lifted out of the body. Go ahead and picture that. But then at the end, finish with that rope, and remember to step big with your foot. And so that's certainly something that I tend to get away from a little bit. I don't always go to the chin as much as I should, but it's definitely useful, so make use of it. But also step big with the foot and sink at the end, and I think you'll find your Shomenate improves leaps and bounds. All right, so thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.